Hello again, and welcome to episode 17 of Rising Leaders Stories from the Legacy of Young Athena. This is a special edition podcast this time. Super exciting. We actually have some of our Young Athena ambassadors, and we'll get into what that means actually in a minute. But I have the absolute pleasure of hosting Lana and Esperance tonight, and they'll introduce you in a little bit. But the ambassador position within Young Athena, just to provide context, is actually a student leadership position. So within the Honors College, we have the facilitators that actually teach the content, and then we have student leaders that are actually students on campus within the Honors College that are actually in leadership roles that support the Young Athenas through their 10-week process. So both of these beautiful souls had the pleasure of being ambassadors for an entire semester. And I think, Lana, you were actually an ambassador for a whole year, right? So we're going to dig in today on what it means to be an ambassador, why it's such an important position, and we'll just kind of fill in the blanks from there. So welcome to both of you. So lovely to have you here. Esperance, I'd love for you to just kind of introduce yourself, talk to us about, I know you're no longer at GCU because you're an official alum now, but talk to us about your time there and then what actually brought you back to being an ambassador.
This takes me back to that first day I came back as an ambassador. They had the same question, but being on campus is just, GCU just has this like culture that's just very inviting, loving, accepting, welcoming. And then Young Athena is just like that, but even deeper because you feel loved and accepted and everything at GCU, but Young Athena really digs deep into into the emotional side of it, into the personal side of it. So just being in that environment, I was like, well, I want to come back. I want to be here if I can again. And then seeing you at the mall and you offering that ability for me just to come back, I was just like, this is where God wants me.
I love that. Yeah, it was, I always think about that when we see each other, but then I'm like, it was so wild that I had just like, and it was so close to Christmas too. I think it was like 2 days before, and I was doing like the bad mom thing of last minute Christmas shopping and like buying everything in one day. Oh, that's so awesome. Yeah, ran into you at the mall. But yeah, no, you was such a pleasure to have you. And are you back in school yet, or are you still working on that piece?
I'm still working on it. Right now I'm studying for my
Okay.
LSAT, but I take my exam in October. So
Yay. Okay.
That's so exciting.
So exciting. Okay, and now Lana, same questions to you.
Yeah, so I was offered the position by my own ambassador peer mentor, Carenta. And yeah, I was just so honored that one, she saw the leadership qualities in me because I definitely was undermining myself. And she called me up to the position. And once I got to thinking about it, I was like, oh my goodness, this would be such a great opportunity because Young Athena hit me to the core my sophomore year when I did it. And I just learned so much about myself. And I was like, I feel like every woman who's trying to navigate college out of state needs to know how to handle herself in this kind of way. Getting to know myself personally, and being able to work on a lot of my soft skills so that I could be the leader that I am today is really important. So I just wanted to pass on that same knowledge and help other girls.
I love that. So in that context, from what you saw Athena ambassador position, right, that inspired you from your own Young Athena ambassador, what did that role mean to you in the beginning? Because I think you just shared a little about that. And then what did it mean like when you finally transitioned out after you were done being an ambassador? Was there a difference there?
There is. So in the beginning, I saw this as I can network and get really plugged into the honors community and just use my resources wisely. It was coming honestly from a very me-centered space. And transitioning out of it, I've realized the importance of a we kind of space. that mindset and community aspect that grows from being vulnerable and honest and authentic with the girls that you're around is so crucial. And that's really what propels you forward. So I think that that change in my mindset really prevailed.
Yeah, that's powerful. What about you, SB? Same experience, or was yours a little different?
Mine kind of was similar, especially talking about her ambassador when she was in Young Athena. My ambassador was so great. She the first time I had been in the class, but I was kind of like still figuring out my space. And then one time we got together and she just made a space for me to open up. And that was like the first time I cried to somebody. And I was just like, wait a minute, what is this? And then I got back to my dorm and I was kind of thinking, and I was just like she said, that we mentality, it just made me feel like I would want to be like this safe space for somebody else. And there's so many, since Young Athena is female based, there's so many girls who just are in a lot of toxic friendships, who are in toxic environments, who don't have that safe space to just like open up. And I was just inspired to like see if I could be that environment for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's super powerful because you both in experience lead from a place of vulnerability. And I know SB, like there's times where I would share something in the class and you'd be like, doing the proud of you snaps when I'm sharing something vulnerable. So Young Athena, of course, is a leadership program, right? That's what it is. But the truth of that is teaching you to understand yourself, but understand yourself in a very graceful, vulnerable way to be able to bloom from that most authentic space. So showing up in that way vulnerably with some of these girls are your peers. I mean, SB, I think you had already graduated, but you had gone to school with quite a few of them as well. And then, so like, how has being able to practice vulnerability while also leading your peers kind of changed that lens of leadership for you?
Yeah, I can go first with that, because that was one of my biggest takeaways. I was under the impression that leadership had to come from a title or position rather than trust and honesty and just having shared experiences. That really is what defines a leader. How you manage yourself in difficult conversations, how you engage everyone in a conversation, um, and how you keep attention on you as well. Tell a story. Um, that was really super duper crucial for me. And I definitely experienced within the first semester versus the second semester, the impact that you can have when you're not leading from a place of, I need to know all the answers, rather than talking through the questions, if that makes sense.
Yeah, powerful. Same question to you, SB.
I want to piggyback off of what she said. I think leadership, there's certain things that come with leadership. For example, you kind of guide the environment. So when you lead from a perspective of I want all the answers, then you start building a toxic environment that people don't even want to confide in you, or they don't even want to tell that they need help, you know? And then so when you come from a vulnerable position when you are leading, it just builds a better environment. You set the table, you set the tone, because that's what the leader does. So when you come from everything from the perspective of like a healthy leadership that's vulnerable, then your peers, or I guess like the people you're overseeing, they feel that radiate off of you, and it sets a tone for the team.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I talk about this a lot because I feel like it's lost in leadership. I think there's a lot of times where someone walks into your office and they have a question about something, or they're feeling maybe a little insecure about something new that they're working on. And a lot of times it's placated with the like, you got this comments, right? Like, it's okay, you got this. And what I always tell leaders that they're missing in that space is the ability to have a vulnerable conversation with a person and show them how human you are. So I love that you're both kind of sitting in the understanding of this, because it would be very different for me as a leader to sit in a space and say, you got this, and like send you back to your office, versus me saying, hey, I understand when I first did projects like this too, I felt really insecure and like maybe I wasn't going to be able to show up to it, but do the best you can. And I'll sit with you to review it to make sure that, it's complete and it's thorough. So don't sweat it. I got you. We'll work through this together. Right. Two totally different mentalities. One is holding space for the complex emotion that they're feeling as a human being, as an individual within the company you're supporting. And one is just ignoring the fact that they're sitting in discomfort and expecting them to handle it themselves. But how vulnerable of an act is it? The fact that they just walked into your office and told you that they're feeling discomfort around it, right? So I have conversations all the time about how you have to sit in those moments of vulnerability for them to even have the respect of you being able to say like, hey, I've been there and I see you and I got you. So I love that you both have that like just thorough understanding of what it means to lead from that space, because it's so important and it's so valuable. So on that note, SB, I'm going to shoot this one to you. How did you create space for others to feel seen, heard, even especially those that are quiet? Because part of being an Athena is looking like including those who are often overlooked, right? That's part of one of our values. So how did you learn to create space for your group of girls that you were supporting to feel seen and heard?
Okay, so a big part for me was putting myself in their shoes. I used to have moments where I would be like, okay, if I were in her position, what would I want to be said to me, or what would I want my leader to do for me? Like, would I want them to leave me alone? Would I want them to kind of like ask me and pressure me into telling them what's up? Because sometimes we do want to say what's happening, but we don't feel like the person cares enough. And then another big thing is that I'm very introverted, but when I was a leader for the last cohort, I put myself out there because I knew that when I was in their shoes, when I was in Young Athena, I wanted a leader who would make the extra step because this was new for me too. But given that I had already been in this space, I was like, okay, when I was in the space, I wanted my leader to be more like, come chase after me kind of. And then so those who were quiet, I made the initiative to kind of reach out to them first and just let them know that I was here. Or if they were quiet, I'd make comments like, hey, I'm gonna go get coffee if anybody wants to come with me. So it didn't feel like an obligation, but like a space for them to walk into and know that they're welcome just in case.
Oh, so good. Same question to you, Lana. How did you create space for others?
I feel like that last sentence that you said, you're welcome. And like I'm creating that space for you. I'm letting you know just in case you want to like join me along that journey. That's so powerful. I honestly do lead from a space of I think every human and every girl wants to be known and appreciated. And then once you have those two, you can really push them or challenge them to achieve for more. Because then you know where they're coming from. Then you're respecting like their background, but also loving where they are right now. And that already is enough to propel people forward. But what I would do specifically for small groups to really create that judgment-free zone, I'd put myself out there, like you would say too, and I would really get to the nitty-gritties of some of my personal experience as well to let them know this is where I'm coming from. I want you to know me and know me in a way that is professional, but also first and foremost relatable. And like I want to see that I want for you to see me as a real human being too. So I'm not trying to expect any more than I'm putting out, right? And then I would also just really hone in on the fact that, some people are more introverted and prefer to not get into the nitty gritties with a group of people. So I'd always offer up that space of like, hey, I know this is a really tough topic. So if you'd rather text me, if you'd rather write it out right now, or if you'd rather meet up individually one-on-one, I'm more than welcome to do that. Because I know speaking through difficult topics is not everyone's forte. Some people write it out better, some people draw it out better. And I just always had pencils or pens, paper readily available if they felt they needed to be more reflective in that time rather than um, showing that verbally.
Oof, I love that. I think it's so important to meet people where they are, just as you both shared. And we do a lot of that in Young Athena. Like, one of the questions I pose a lot is when I notice that something's coming up for someone, I offer, do you feel like sharing or do you feel like holding it? Right? That's something that I've always been like, okay, I want to hold space if you need to get it out of you, but I also want to hold space if you feel like you need to hold it still. So seeing that reflected in both of you is incredibly powerful, because a lot of times people just need to be witnessed in their experience. And it's so powerful when someone is actually just sitting and we're able to bear witness in exactly where they are right now. And it kind of just lets that like threshold of being judged down a little. And then they are willing to share more. So what a beautiful reflection from both of you. Can one of you, and I'm open to either, we're pretty good at this point, share a moment where you feel like you, like as an ambassador, made just like a really big impact, in whether it's just with one person or whether it's with your group? I'm open to either, but just a moment when you realize like, oh, I'm actually doing beautifully amazing work as an ambassador.
Sure, I could go first with this. I think it was bringing in one of our panelists, or actually two, I brought in two, um, for that last hurrah of getting insight from professionals and really getting to see how they grew from where we are at in college and into their professional careers. I just felt like leading the panel the first semester was super impactful, not only for myself growing, but also for just creating more of a rounded tabletop kind of conversation rather than like an interview or an interrogation. And bringing on women that I knew would be super impactful as well. I just felt like I was contributing a lot, and I felt like these women both had it displayed characteristics in my time of knowing them of being courageous and living out their authentic lives in the workforce, in their families. And I just felt that that was just the cherry on top to my time as an ambassador.
I never would have guessed that, but reflecting on it after you said that, that makes so much sense, because you merged like both sides of you, like the college student side who's like still in development and who's still learning and all of those things, and also your very professional, like driven side who's a beautiful networker. And you were just kind of like, oh, here we go. Let's merge all that is you together. That's really impactful. Same thing to you, SB. What's the time you made a real impact? Do you feel you made a real impact?
So there was this one situation specifically that happened where one of the girls we were with, she had a situation happen like in the beginning of the cohort starting, and we like I basically kind of had to walk her through like, you know, like how do you advocate for yourself? How do you sit with the feelings after you advocate for yourself? Because it's sometimes you do stand up for yourself, but it doesn't feel great in the moment because you don't feel the best feelings. And so the whole group together, we kind of like walked her through the whole like the steps, the 10 steps. Um, and then towards the end of the cohort, I was on her Instagram and she had posted a situation on her close friends. And then I remember just sitting with myself and being like, wow, the growth is amazing. And I shot her a text and I was like, I love the advocating for yourself part of this story. And then it was beautiful.
That's awesome. I get to do that every day. I'm like, I completely understand that reflection, because I have so many Young Athenas on my LinkedIn. So many of you follow me on Instagram, either on my personal page or on my business page. And so like so many times I sit back and I'm like, dang, look at what these girls are doing right now. Like, oh, it's just so good. So I love that. So, and she's off blossoming and like living her best life, right? And then you just get to see there and you're like, listen, slay queen, like for real. But it's not ever from a place of like ego or like I did that. Like part of being a young Athena or even being an Athena in general is just being wildly proud of all that these women in the world are doing and have done and will do, and the community of uplifting each other. So it's so good. I was just telling I was on a call with Dr. Readers earlier, and she was like, "Did you see? I reshared Lana's podcast episode." And I was like, "Well, that's super exciting. Like I hadn't even seen it yet." And so I'm like, "I'm going to go out and look." But she's out there like sharing all of your stuff all the time because she's always so proud of you too. And I'm like, what an impact we're making just like by blasting how proud we are of you all, with just because it's like it's so beautiful to witness you all stepping into yourselves in just such an authentic, like, this is who I am way, and like this is what I want to do, and this is what I'm chasing after. And then it's like, let's pepper you with resources too. You need stuff, you need people, you need love, you need a Zoom meeting, like we got it all. What do you need? You need a mentor circle? It's on Tuesdays, right? So I love it. It's just it's so powerful. If you can tell, I love my job just like a little bit, maybe probably a lot, but anyway. Okay, so I'm gonna jump into like a couple of things where I'm just gonna have you reflect about your time. So what do you feel is the boldest leadership move you made it as ambassador, and what did you learn from it? Let's go with you first, Espy, on this one.
You said the boldest move I ever made?
The boldest leadership move you made as an ambassador. Yeah.
Okay, I think I kind of touched on this earlier, but I'm very introverted, and being with the girls, I kind of like one day I just took a leap of faith and I was like, okay, I'm gonna start making like some calls, some shots, and it was out of my comfort zone. But I feel like it's just a thing about Young Athena. The girls, no matter what you say or how you come, like they're just very inviting. Like it could have been a different group where I made the initiative to put myself out there and like initiate hangouts outside of like our regular meeting days, and they could have totally just shot it down and like put me in a space where I'm like, okay, I'm never doing that again. But I put myself out there. I made a bold move to just make a space for them to hang out outside of our, just make a space for them to get to actually be friends and not like group mates, but friends. And they welcome me like, yeah.
Yeah. And so did you end up having a couple of meetings a week, or were they meeting like as friends without you? How did that end up turning out?
So basically, some of us met a couple times a week, like twice a week to do homework and just be in each other's environment, not even like talking, but just homework. And then sometimes I would kind of push them to hang out on their own without me. And then other times I would initiate conversations and messages so that we had a place to just vent, like that didn't feel forced, and it felt more like I'm just getting a vent out there just so you guys can listen. Sometimes we don't want advice. Sometimes we just want to get our thoughts out. And I built that space in our messages, but it's because they were open to it and out of my bold move.
That's super cool. I didn't even know that until right now. But how powerful that we're like, you took the initiative to create outlets, because that's what we need. You guys are under such immense pressure as college students, as student leaders, as group leaders. You all have leadership positions all over the place too. Like you're not just one student leader. There's like student, and then like you also might have a job on campus that's like outside of the student leadership positions. And so sometimes I was like, it's funny because you all, like a lot of you are like, how do you do everything that you do? And then I'm like, it's the same. How do you do everything that you do and still get straight A's and still be an honors student and still have like leadership distinctions and so I don't know. I feel like sometimes when the college girls ask me that, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like your guys' schedules are way crazier than mine. And yet somehow you still have social lives. I guess my children suck up a lot of that time, but it's always funny to like when I hear you all say that, and I'm like, because now that Ashley works for me too, I'm like, dang, that girl had so many things going on while she was in college. And she reflects it back to me, like how many studies she's been published in. And I'm like, when did you have time to like analyze and write a study? Like what? It's so impressive. Y'all are so impressive. I literally sit with this all the time and I'm like, somehow I became a leader that inspires you, and yet somehow you are all leaders that inspire me. So it's always so good. Okay, so back to you. I was like, boldest leadership move you had to make as an ambassador, and what did you learn from it?
Yeah. Um, I'm probably going to say that my boldest move was incorporating my faith into my leadership style. That was definitely a bold move for me. Just because it was a little bit out of my comfort zone, I was still getting used to sharing my faith and incorporating it into how well it aligned with our core values and the different values of a young Athena. What I would do is just pull like one or two verses from the Bible that would correlate with it. Like, how does Jesus say the same thing? How does God want us to act in the same kind of way? And it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Obviously, we go to a Christian school, but um, the feedback was just great. And getting to know all of these girls, not only personally, but also spiritually, was so sweet. And getting to help them on, like, I don't know if I am wanting to be like a service leader in the church or not. How do I still like live out my morals and ethics with school or with this friendship or with this work thing? Um, it was just really cool to see the different sides of the girls and to just like foster that kind of connection. It was really, really sweet. And I got a lot of great feedback on it. And I was so fulfilled in doing it. So I think that was definitely one of the boldest moves that I've made. And yeah, I think I reaped a lot from that as well.
I love it. I love it. It's so interesting because religion in 2025 is incredibly controversial, right? Like we can like it's like don't step on other people's toes and like don't be evangelistic and like tell other people their faith is right. There's like this whole like dichotomy of like be religious but don't be, and it's like a super weird kind of world we live in. But truthfully for you, that's part of your authenticity, right? And so how do you
Definitely.
bridge the gap of like this tumultuous time in religion in America to also being your authentic self? Because naturally you're going to go to the Bible for whatever
Mhm.
guidance you might need. And so if you're providing guidance, it would be very natural to you to bring the biblical principles into whatever it is you're teaching because that's who you are. Now, we are incredibly blessed that we are within a Christian university, so we have the option to
Mhm.
bring faith into the conversation without it creating controversy. But at the same
Exactly.
time, like, you would have totally missed the mark of being able to live in your authentic self if you weren't able to, right? So, what a actual blessing. And I know that you've been working on like actually going out and talking to people, and I don't remember if you were doing it at school or church, but you had talked about going out and actually speaking to, was it speaking to homeless people? I think that's what you were
Different
telling
college
me.
students. Yeah,
Oh, okay. I think there was like
different
something
campus
you had
students.
shared about, but I'm just like, it's so powerful because that's still a muscle you're building. So for you to like
Mhm.
bring that in also, it's just love this for you so much because I know how much your faith means to you. So it's super powerful. Okay, I want to take us back actually to you being Young Athenas for a second because neither of you have been on the podcast yet, and majority of the time we do a little deep dive into who you are as Young Athenas, and we talk a little bit about your journey. SB, let's start with you. So which one of the principles do you think impacted you the most?
Okay, so I want to take this back to kick people down the stairs. That's what
Oh, yeah. Building relationships, kicking people down the stairs. I love
yes.
it.
So most of your classes, like you said, they were divided in certain like principles and core values. But like sometimes you could get one class and kind of clash it with a different principle and apply it around, like networking, I guess, for principles and core values. But I remember you kind of talking about how like you had let go of a friendship that had been like a long friendship. And at that point, I was also in a friendship that was very like bad. And I feel like you sharing your story just inspired me. Like nobody's benefiting from a friendship that is just drowning both of us, you know. And I kind of had to step back and just ask myself, like, what is the point of all of this? Like, how am I serving myself? How am I serving them? Like, what am I reaping from this? And then I kind of took a step back, and I was like, this is just hurting me. What am I doing here? And then ever since then, it was like it was like a mental shift in my head. Like, sometimes I look back and it's just so crazy. And I think I told you I was crying on the phone with you about this. And I was like, just a shift went off in my head, and I was like, moving forward, I just want to live my life like authentic. I want to be more intentional about the people I have in my life. I want to be more intentional about the things I pour into, which also turned around and like is where I am now, like working ministry work. It's like now I'm more careful about like how I pour myself into different things, whether it may be school, work, free time, but definitely relationships. Like if I'm in a relationship where I feel like I'm holding myself back for certain things, then it's either I walk away or I have hard conversations. Or if I'm in a relationship that I feel like is hurting me, either I have the hard conversation or I leave. But that kicking people down the stairs and living authentically made like a weird shift in my head. I don't know if that was the question.
Yeah, no, it absolutely was. Yeah, because I think we're all about doing the friends cleanse, right? That's what we talk about, and how reciprocity is the bare minimum. It's the bottom line, right? You have to have reciprocity in your relationships, or you end up filling from an empty cup half of the time because you're the one holding all the space, and then there's no one holding space for you. So I think it's revolutionary. And the fact that you are able to apply it in your life, especially as young as you are, it's really powerful, because the amount of intention that you're going to have in all the future relationships that you build, and the amount of just self-advocacy that you're going to do in those hard conversations. But it doesn't come from a place of judgment. It comes from the space and grace place of like, maybe I need to learn your core values so that I can understand you better, right? Like we don't ever come from the Athena lens of like, oh, I'm cutting you off and that's it. I mean, maybe there might be a level of betrayal where we would do that, but we're definitely going to have a tough conversation with you before we do, because self-advocacy is such an important piece. So yeah, I love that so much. Okay, Lana, same to you. What's your core value? Yep, tell me about that. And what's the principle that inspired you the most?
Yeah, my first core value is compassion. And the meeting, or like the story, I guess, that had the most impact on me was the baggage, and being handed different bags and different suitcases from other people, and getting weighed down by them, and then really taking time to analyze and see, did this come from me, or was this given to me? And now what do I do with it? I'm carrying someone else's baggage, and carrying someone else's title of myself, identifier, and I'm living like I gave it to myself, or God gave it to me. Like, that was such a difficult meeting, because I cried my eyeballs out, and I'm fairly certain I did for both the times I was an ambassador too, and demonstrating it. But the first time hearing it, it definitely changed my worldview, and it left an everlasting like impact on me. And I wouldn't say scar, because it did heal a lot in that process. And so, yeah, taking time to reflect on, where am I grabbing my identity from? Is it from the world, and is it from the people around me, or is it from my creator? Is it from myself? Yeah.
Ooh, that's so good. I was like, just see her over there. That's so good. That impacted me too. Also came from like recovering perfectionist, high achiever. And it took me a long time to realize my rubric of perfection was not anything that I had built myself. It is what other people had handed me and required me to become. And then I just like sat in it, right? We just sit in it. We just sit in our rubric of perfection without ever reflecting on who wrote it. So that baggage one is super powerful too, because I think you get a lot of ahas of like, oh, I actually don't like that at all. And I just do it because I've always done it. So it gives you the ability to rewrite your script from ground up if you wanted to. Keep what resonates, leave what doesn't, you know? And it's like
Mhm.
seems like it's hard, but sometimes we get our identity so wrapped up in those things that it just becomes a part of us, and then we never look at it again. We just carry it around. Okay,
Yeah.
these are my bags now. You're just like, wait a minute, whose bags are these? Yeah,
Mhm.
so good. Um, oh, I love this so much. What do you think? So that was something that was challenging. I was going to ask you about the most challenging experience from being a young Athena, but maybe you just answered it, right? Was that probably the hardest principle to kind of take in, or were there other times, even as an ambassador, that you had to think through some realities of what you were facing?
I think for Young Athena, for me, it was sophomore year that I took it. And I was going through a lot of changes um, afterwards or during. And it's because I made a lot of these aha moments. It's because I was getting comfortable with the uncomfortable and having difficult conversations with my relationships and friendships and making drastic changes from them. Like I was taking that homework of doing it and implementing it in my life and like the more reflection that I had, um, I took that to the max and I implemented it with a lot of my things, a relationship that I was in as well. And so realizing after reflection of like, okay, these are my core values. These are some identifiers and names that I've been attributing to myself. Have I been advocating for myself after knowing these things properly? Have I been having the right conversations with the right people about these things and letting them know, like, hey, I'm going through this change and I'm like realizing this about myself. Do you want to come along with me on this journey? Or would you rather stay where you are? And that was a big conversation that I had to have. So that was definitely the most challenging. It did affect some of my attendance for the 10 weeks. Um, but by the end of it, and when it came to graduation and like crying my eyeballs out, like while getting the certificate, and realizing the kind of impact that the friends that I made had helped me along with, that was definitely the most challenging. Yeah. And the most rewarding for sure at the end.
So good. So good. You had so much growth that semester. I do remember there was a couple of times that you were absent, which I think this just reiterates the fact that we don't count attendance. You know what I mean? Like Young Athena is created as a safe space for you to show up regardless of how you feel or look like or your laundry not done or whatever, all those things we give ourselves a reason not to show up, because we get it. We get it. We've been there. We've been through it. We've been in the self discovery train, and like sometimes it feels more like a train wreck than actually a ride going somewhere. So yeah, we totally get it. But that space is yours, and it's safe, and you'll be held regardless. So, how awesome. So SB, what about you? What's a one of the something that was challenging from Young Athena that kind of changed you?
So this kind of happened this cohort that just passed. So
Okay.
basically I went through my cohort spring 2023, 2024. Yeah, 2024. And then so a year passed and I came back that following year to help out. And sitting in the classes and kind of like I had to reflect and I was like, okay, I've built these like values, I've built this like character of like advocating for myself, all this stuff. But I was like, wait, I'm backsliding. Like I'm falling back into habits I cut off. And then so sitting in class, one time you were talking about reciprocity, and it kind of set with me because I was like, there's certain things I built in the last cohort, but now I'm coming back and I'm noticing that I kind of backslid and I'm letting some like things slide with certain basically certain habits I'd built. And then so that day in class I kind of just sat with myself and I was like, I can't go. I'm not working backwards. I'm not going backwards. And then so that class kind of just checked me. And then so I kind of sit with myself again and just be like, do I want to backslide? Do I want to go back to where I was before Young Athena? Do I want to get back into those old habits, those toxic friendships? And then so obviously sitting with myself that like it didn't hurt, but it was challenging because it was like when you catch yourself backsliding, that whatever it may be, and when you catch yourself going backwards, it's painful. It's like it's a mentality check, and so that was the most challenging thing. But it was years after Young Athena. This was me as a ambassador.
Yeah, that's amazing though. Even if you just think for a second about the growth that it takes to be able to check in and reflect and admit to yourself, like, hey, I let go of these habits once already. Why are we here again? And is this what I want? Or is this like, right, my comfort zone re-shrinking itself because I haven't been in these scenarios in a while? Right? It's so easy for our brain to like switch back into comfort mode and like being in your PJs on your sofa and like, right? That's the comfort zone we always talk about. And those patterns have been around for years, right? When you think about it, and then you go through a cohort like Young Athena and you're like, oh, I've grown, like I'm going to do this differently. But then when you're not in it, right? That like, sometimes if you don't use it, you lose it. But the ability to actually sit in reflection and your own discomfort and be like, oh, I went back on my word and my commitment to myself that I wouldn't be here again, and I am here again, and now I need to do it differently. That's an incredibly powerful position. I'm really proud of you. Because there's a lot of women leaders that I work with that will fall back into old patterns and not really recognize it. So for you being young and in leadership roles and then having the ability to self-reflect, even though it wasn't your cohort, right? Like you weren't there as a student. I mean, I feel like when you're in Young Athena, you're always a student, because even now I like learn things from you all. But as a leader sitting in there, you could have let your ego be like, oh, I got this, right? But instead you were like, no, I'm an Athena. There's a whole different level of accountability in that than just being in a leadership role. So I'm really proud of you for that. Okay, so our final question for the night. What is something about being a peer leader in Athena that you think people don't realize or understand? Either of you.
Did you want me to start? Or did you want to? Sure. Okay. One thing people don't understand about being any type of leadership is that constant like checking yourself, like making sure, because the worst thing to do is to pour from an empty cup. It's so important to take a step back and just reevaluate yourself, your intentions, your own cup. Make sure you're also being filled. Make sure obviously you can't always be in a healthy mindset. Sometimes things happen and they knock you off, but it's important to always make sure that you're checking on yourself, because you're pouring into people's lives, and the one thing you don't want to do is pour the wrong things into their lives.
Mm-hmm.
So good, especially in group learning, right? In a peer group, because you're not holding space for one. It's not a one-to-one coaching relationship. It's multiple to one. And so then you're like, am I being intentional about what I'm pouring? Because yeah, you can't control life. Like life be lifing. And right? And sometimes you gotta be like, oh yeah, I actually have nothing left for today. But we ask them to show up. There's so many times I show up to teach Young Athena that I've worked all day and I'm exhausted. But you all mean so much to me. So I like do a little 5-minute meditation in my car to like reset my energy so I don't come in like blah all over you all on my exhaustion from the day. It's not fair. So yeah, that's a really, really great point, because holding space for many other bodies and their intentions and their emotion and what they need it's a lot to manage. So I thank you for that. What about you, Lana?
I think for me, the thing that I like built myself on as like a leader in any kind of way is knowing that you have to be what you are expecting of those people also. So having the drive to continuously learn and have that growth mindset, so that way like you aren't ever the one that knows it all. Because if you're know-it-all, like you're not growing and you're not like pushing yourself along with all these people that you're trying to grow and build. So if you're not doing that for yourself, how are you supposed to do that and expect that from other people? So I really did take that initiative to be a Young Athena as a student, even as that ambassador, as you were saying, because I needed to re-soak and relearn and reapply these different principles in my life to make sure that I was speaking from a place of actually knowing and understanding the concepts rather than presuming things about the concepts and like projecting that like, oh yes, I know this and I know that. Like, no, I don't. And that's why I'm here and that's why we're growing together. This is a collaborative effort, right? It's not ever like, no, I need you to do what I say because I'm supposed to know all the things. Um, it's the foster collaboration, it's the building relationships that really grow and prosper when you are also growing and prospering for yourself.
So good. Yeah, this is my Athena certificate from my original Athena cohort all those years ago. I think I took it in like 18, maybe. Might have
Wow.
been before, maybe I was 19, something like that. But yeah, I sat in that same like, if I'm going to show up and teach Young Athena and take the executive director role, I better be doing the same things that I'm teaching these these beautiful women in these cohorts, because otherwise it's like I feel like a phony. Just like
Mm-hmm.
even before this call, we were having a conversation about like my personal life right now, and we were doing our little girly check-in as we do so well. And you were just like, it's really cool to see you like living these out. And I'm like, yeah, but if I'm going into a cohort and I'm teaching you how to advocate for yourself, and I'm like openly telling you I'm getting walked all over in my relationship, you would be like,
Are
right?
you listening to this?
Yeah.
It's bad
And
source.
right. And not to say we don't falter, but I really think that's the beauty of our community, is that level of accountability. And it's gentle accountability, right? Like we're not ever like, wow, I can't believe you didn't advocate for yourself. It's more like, hey, like advocating fiercely is part of like our Young Athena code. Like what's keeping you from advocating for yourself? How can I help you? Right. That's always the lens that it comes from. So yeah, it's so beautiful. Well, thank you both for your time this evening. It was so good to catch up and see you. And yeah, it was just such an honor. And I don't get to have either of you this next semester, I don't think. So it's okay. I know we have big priorities in our lives, and that's okay. But just know that you're definitely missed. And it was such an honor to have you here today.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks so much for having us.